Welcome back to Guitar Made Simple. I'm Brian Metzger. This is lesson 7, and now we're to the shape of G. So we discussed the cage chording and how there's 5 different shapes of keys. There's an expression that's used. We're playing out of the shape of C or out of the shape of G. And so now we're moving to the second shape, which is the shape of G. We already did, in lesson 6, we did playing out of the shape of C, and we talked about C in the major family, 1, 4, and 5, the minor family, the 2 and the 6, and the inversion family, the 3 and the 7. Well, guess what? We use those same numbers when we talk about playing out of the shape of G, except we have a new point of orientation. Now the 1 is G, and so everything zeroes back to 1 as G. So we're going to begin first by looking at the major family played out of the shape of G. So if you play your G chord, this time we're going to do a little bit more developed G than the last time. It's going to be the middle finger on the 3rd fret of a low E, index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. Your D and the G are going to be played open. Your ring finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the B string. Thank you, helicopters. Okay, so the G chord, we'll build that for you. The middle finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the E string. The index finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the A string. Your D and your G string are going to be played open. Your ring finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the B string. And your index, your pinky is going to be on the 3rd fret of the high E. So that's our G chord, and that's our 1 chord. In the major family, it's 1, 4, and 5. So what's the 4? What's the next major chord? It's going to be C. The C is going to be directly above the G. Now you know this C when we are playing C out of the shape of C, but I'm actually going to teach you another shape of C, which is a slight variation, that you can put the middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A string and the index finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the high E. So one of the things that's nice about these two shapes, the G and the E and the C, is they're that similar. Just moving these first 2 fingers on the 6th and the 5th string to the 5th and the 4th string. Fantastic. Now, to get to your 5. Oh, remember that shortcut to find your 4th? It works here as well. The 4 is always, where's the 4? Directly above the 1. Now, we have the second rule doesn't work as nicely though. Where's the 5? It's always directly below the 1. Well, you're at the bottom of the guitar, so there's no more notes below. There's no more strings below. So that means you have to go up to go down. In order to do that, you go to find the other place to find your 5 is always directly above the 1 and up a whole step. So there's your 5th fret of the A string, that's your D. Well, you also have a D string, so you can play that chord right here. So what's the 5th in the key of G? We'll count it out. G is 1, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, there's your 4, C is your 4, and then 5 is your D. So D is the chord that we're looking for. Okay, so your D chord, D string is open. We've already had a D minor playing out of the shape of C, but now this is going to be a D major. So D string rings open, index fingers on the 2nd fret of the G string, ring fingers on the 3rd fret of the B string, and the middle fingers on the 2nd fret of the high E. So there is your D major chord. Now, I see a little bit of a geometry opportunity here. This chord is in the shape of a triangle. Can you see the triangle? You've got the 2 points at the bottom of the triangle, then the point on the top of the triangle. Also looks a little bit like an X-Wing fighter to me. But so that's the D chord. That's your 5. So 1, 4, 5. And there's a million songs that go to those 3 chords. All right, so that's your major family when you're playing out of the shape of G. Now we can go to our minor family. And remember, the minor even though we know the minor family is 2 and 6, but we start with the 6 because the 6 is a more powerful minor chord. It's a minor chord that gets used most frequently. And so the 6 is always 2 steps behind the 1. So if G is your 1, then E minor is going to be your 6. It's the relative minor to the G. Now, once you know where your E minor is, okay, let's talk about how to play the E minor. Low E is open, middle finger 2nd fret A string, ring finger 2nd fret D string, G string's open, B string's open, E string's open. Quite simple of a chord. Now that you know where your 6 is, remember what's the minor family, 2 and 6? Well, the 2 is always directly above the 6. So if 6 is the E minor, then A minor is the minor that's directly above. And that is the same A minor that we had out of the shape of C, but I'll build it again so it's all in one place. A string open, middle finger 2nd fret D string, ring finger 2nd fret G string, index finger 1st fret B string, and then the high E. So there's your A minor chord. All right, so the next, what are the 3 families then? The major family, the minor family, and then the inversion family. So the inversion family, the first inversion is going to be the 1 add 3, and we're going to start with your G chord and simply let the index finger, the 2nd fret of the A string, be the lowest note that you play. So you omit playing the G at the bottom. And there you have a 1 add 3, or when we see the notation say 3 on it, we're going to pick this chord when we're playing out of the shape of G. All right, and then the other third is going to be right above that one, is going to be the C, which is going to be your, it's going to be 5, it's going to be 7, so the inversion family is 3 and 7, so we're looking for a chord with the 7 on the bottom. How do you do that? You take a 5 and you put the 7 on the bottom of it. So the 5 is your D. In order to put the 7 on the bottom, it's D add F sharp. So this D add F sharp, let's talk about how to build that chord. Index finger on the 2nd fret of the low E, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. And for now, that's sufficient to play this chord. You'll only be playing 5 strings from the low E to the B. All right, so now you have your 3 and your 7. All right, a little bit of an exercise that you can do is your major chord progression. You could do 1, 4, 5, 1. Practice that again. 1, 4, 5, and then 1. And in the minor, you could do 6, 2, 6, 2. So there's your minor progression. And then with the inversions, you could do, let's do 3, 7, 7, 3. Now, I found that rang a little bit nicer if I lifted my pinky up and kept that B string open, which is an option that you have with the G major chord. All right, so those are our 7 chords played out of the shape of G. And remember, each note in a scale has a number, a letter, a chord, and a scale. So that means you can play the chords as a scale. And so let's try that, forwards and backwards. So G, A, B, C, D, E minor, D add F sharp, and G. And backwards. All right, excellent. Now you're ready to go playing out of the shape of G. The next shape that we're going to work on is E. See it for lesson number 8. The next shape we're going to work on is E. We'll see you for lesson number 8.